Hey y'all, I really want to take a moment and talk about something that's frankly disturbing that I've been seeing in the comments of my videos lately. So I've made quite a bit of content about rural red America, both here in Oregon, but America's farmers that voted for Trump as well. And the way that those Americans are really starting to hurt under Trump. They are really starting to see the ways that this regime is going to impact rural red counties far more than blue urban centers. How their choice to vote for the Trump regime is coming back to hurt them in their communities in ways they did not anticipate at all. And some of the counties that I've talked about have gone 79 or 80% for Trump, and they're getting absolutely screwed by his regime, by what Elon Musk is doing at Doge, by firings in the federal government, by cuts to Medicaid and food stamps, by the way that this regime is consistently hurting our veterans. I could keep going. The list is very, very long. And the attempt to dismantle the Department of Education and the way that rural schools are being impacted is something that I talked about yesterday. And we are not even beginning to see how devastating that will be for our children in rural America. But on the video that I posted yesterday, and like any video that maybe has a little bit of like FAFO, fuck around and find out content, like, oh, these folks are getting what they voted for, right? This is what they wanted. They thought that all of these harmful policies were only going to impact like Black and brown people, queer people. They didn't think that their chickens would come home to roost. They didn't think through how all of the things that they voted for were going to hurt them and hurt their communities. And so I'm just getting tons of comments of folks delighting in these topics that I'm covering, the way that farmers are losing their farms, right? Like the state of Nebraska is like basically going to go bankrupt. Kansas is in real bad trouble. All of these folks who sold their produce, their milk, their wheat, their soy, their sorghum to USAID, and they're all now left holding the bag. They don't have any market, and their contracts have been like they already grew the food and the government pulled the rug out from underneath them. They no longer have a client base, and they have all of this food that they now cannot sell. And the way that we're looking at rural schools basically going bankrupt, we're looking at teachers in conservative America who were like, whoa, I did not mean for the Department of Ed to get dismantled, even though Trump promised that he would do that. So people are like, well, that's what you get. That's what you voted for. I'm just going to show you a couple of those comments like this one. If any of these people voted for Trump, then they get what they asked for. But it will affect a lot of Democrats also, and we don't deserve it. That second part is true. Person said, Red Oregon voted for Trump, so they are just getting what they wanted. You will notice my replies to the next few of these videos, and then you'll probably know where I'm going with the rest of this video. Hurting rural Oregon, yeah, you asked for it, you got it. This is what MAGA voted for. Get what you vote for. Yeah, well, they still get to keep their red MAGA hat. They bought into this racist message. Extended laughing. So we screamed from rooftops to these people to not vote for this, and now we have to pull these people up and carry them? This is a challenge to my empathy reserve. That's understandable. I understand. White Trump supporters assumed only Black and brown people would suffer, and they were all for it. Rural voters assumed urban residents would suffer, and they were all for it. Fuck around and find out. I mean, yes, absolutely, that's completely true. With 79% voting for Trump in the county I was talking about, I can only offer 21% of sympathy. I'm from another country. I am laughing so hard. Oregon, gone. No one has any sympathy for you or anyone who didn't vote or voted red. Trust me, like you can't trust your leader. The world despises you and everything your country is doing. Wishing you the worst from the free world. First off, Scott, you can take a hike. Everybody else, for all of these comments, I understand. Believe me, I understand the urge to delight in people facing the consequences of their actions. I understand that a lot of Trumpers thought that what they were voting for was only going to hurt people that weren't like them. And they didn't realize it was going to hurt them worse than anybody. And also there will be a lot of doubling down. There will be a lot of moving the goalpost, a lot of sunk cost fallacy where they don't want to accept that the reason they are suffering is because they voted for it. They did this to themselves. I'm sure they will find a way to continue to blame Biden, or as several people in my comments of that video did, blame Salem, which is where the legislature is in Oregon. So they're blaming the Democrats in the state house for things that the Trump regime is doing. But this is what I am finding disturbing about all of these comments, and you could probably guess from my replies if you read any of them. Everything that this regime is doing hurts children more than anybody. And little children did not vote for Donald Trump, and little children should not pay for their parents' sins. We are better than that, y'all. Before this horrible dystopia that we are living in now, I talked a lot about the fact that children are denied basic human rights in the United States. They are seen as property or an extension of their parents instead of full human beings. And unfortunately, that belief is often upheld by people who think that they are progressive. It's not just folks on the right who view their children as a quiver full of arrows and as a sign of the father's virility, or, little servants to help mom out and parent the younger kids, right? It's everywhere in our society that we see children as less than, that we see children as being less than fully human. We see them as property of their parents. And unfortunately, for many, many decades, children were legally just property of their parents. And so that mindset is very much instilled in our culture. It's still very pervasive. In fact, there was that little girl who just died of measles in Texas, and she was not vaccinated. And we have very much coming from the far right, this parents' rights movement in the US. And so parents can withhold very necessary medical care from their children. And that little girl, her parents were interviewed, and they said if they had to do it all over again, they would withhold the measles vaccine from their daughter, even knowing that it would result in her death. Children do not have basic human rights in the US. And when we are taking to the comments, or our just mindset in general, is that Red America deserves everything that it gets, that everything that is coming to pass is something that they voted for, and they are experiencing the consequences of their actions, that little children did not vote for that, and little children should not be made to suffer for what their parents have done. It is children who will suffer most from Medicaid and SNAP being dismantled and defunded. It is little children who will suffer most from their parents losing their jobs. It is little children who will suffer most from the Department of Ed being dismantled. It is little children that will suffer most from the rollback of climate change and other environmental legislation. We are stealing from our children's futures, and we are harming them in their present. And we should not be delighting in any of that. If anything, if we call ourselves truly progressive, if we say that we are different than MAGA, we should be advocates for all of those kids. It is always our worst impulse to punish children, and definitely to punish parents through their children. Putin abducting Ukrainian children to Russify them in Russian families. That's exactly the legacy of residential schools in the United States. Everything this regime is doing absolutely targets children first, because narcissists and cruel, evil people always target the most helpless populations first, because they can't fight back and because children don't have any representation. They are completely defenseless. This regime has said that unaccompanied minors in the system no longer have a right to access legal counsel. I think everybody has a right to be righteously angry at what MAGA adults have done. Everybody has a right to be angry. What is happening now is unbelievably devastating, but please understand it is little kids who are suffering the most. And if we want to differentiate ourselves from MAGA, if we want to come back from this, if we want to hope to reclaim our democracy, we are not going to get there. We are not going to get there without understanding that little children are not to blame, and without advocating vigorously for the needs and the rights of kids. I understand it's not really that compelling for a lot of people to say that kids are hurting, that kids are going to go hungry, that children will die because they will be denied access to medical care, that children's education's quality of life and future are being stolen from them by this regime. I understand that that's not compelling, because it's so common in this culture to not really care very much about kids, to not see them as complete whole human beings. But I'm just begging y'all to spend some time introspecting and understanding the way that we break cycles is through children. Do not wish that the sins of the father would be visited upon the son. Do not think that you're going to enact retribution through MAGA's children. If that's something that you're excited about, if you're like, I don't care if those kids hurt because their parents did a horrible thing, then you're no better. I'm sorry to say, but you're no better. And you might sit and think about how progressive your ideals really are, how much you really care about democracy, how much you really care about the lives of other people. Please understand the most voiceless and helpless amongst us, most harmed by this regime. The folks we should be fighting for the hardest are America's children, and all of the children around the world that Trump and Elon Musk will be killing. They will be killing millions of children. Please don't abdicate your humanity. Please don't shut off your empathy for those kids. I'm begging y'all, please.